Hello, awesome people from the internet. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Tensorflow with Django. I call it Tensor Django, but that's just for fun. So basically, we are going to build an image classifier web app which is going to be able to predict the class of an image uploaded. In the first step, we are going to prepare the dataset. For the demonstration, we are going to use animals, so we need to download pictures of different animals. The next step, we are going to train the model. This process is just like a teacher teaching a kid, and in this case, the kid is a computer. So what we do is we label the data. For example, we take the picture of a cat and label it cat. Then we ask our computer to predict its class. Based on the result, we rate the accuracy of our computer and then actually repeat the process until we are sure our computer is able to predict the image or predict the class of the image uploaded. In the next step, we are going to power the model with Django. That is, we are going to load the model into a Django website and make sure that Django can use it to perform predictions. That is, someone will be able to upload an image from our website and then Django will return the class of that image. So now, let's take a look at the demo. The web app predicts the classes of different animals. That was amazing, right? But before we dive in, I would like to invite all of my viewers to subscribe. This promotes the channel and encourages me to produce more content. We are going to start off by getting the starter files from GitHub. You can use the link in the description that is going to take you to this repository. Once you're on this repository, make sure you're on the starter branch. The main branch contains the final code which you can use for reference. Now once you make sure you're in the starter branch, you can actually get the files in two ways, either by downloading the zip or by using Git to clone it. So the steps to clone with Git are outlined here. So what you have to do is to type git clone with the link to the repository. After that, you cd into the folder and then now you check out the starter branch. I have gone ahead and set up my working directory with the starter files and open it with VS Code. You can use any code editor, but I really love using VS Code. So for the demonstration, we are going to use 6 different animals, but feel free to use the image of the objects you want to use. You need to have some knowledge of Python and some basic understanding of Django and the web. You can read more using the resources found here. Now, the tools we are going to use is 1. We are going to use Python 3, the Python programming language. We are going to use Django, the web framework for Python, and we are going to use Tensorflow, which is a machine learning library used to create neural networks. So first, what you want to do is you actually have to get or install Python 3 on your machine. Once you've installed it, you have to get the starter files, which I have already gotten it, and these are the steps for those who are actually going to clone it. Once you've gotten your starter files, what you have to do is you have to create a virtual environment. What is a virtual environment? A virtual environment is where we're going to store all the packages needed by our project or all the packages that are being used by our project. You can actually work without a virtual environment. That means all the packages that you're going to use for this project are going to be installed on your overall system, but we don't want that. We want to keep that separate from the packages that are being used by our system. So I've already gone ahead and created my virtual environment and activated it. So to activate your virtual environment means I'm referencing that all the packages I'm going to install are going to be stored in the virtual environment. So to create it on Windows or on Mac, you use this command. I've actually gone ahead and run this command, and after you run this command, it's going to create this env file for you. And once you do that, you have to activate your virtual environment. Mine is already activated. And how do you know that your virtual environment is activated? Once your virtual environment is activated, you're going to have this bracket around it. So I'll go ahead and deactivate mine. Okay, I've gone ahead and deactivated my virtual environment. As you can see, I have no curly or brackets around here. So that means if I install any Python package, that's going to be installed on my overall system. But now I want to use a virtual environment to store all the packages needed by my project. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that and paste it. So now, as you can see, my virtual environment has been activated and is indicated by these brackets. So let me clear that up. So after you've created your virtual environment and activate it, what you want to do is to install all the required packages. If you check in the requirements.txt, you're going to see that this contains all the packages we are using for our project. So using this command is going to help you to install all those packages without having to type them one by one. So you should copy this and paste it in your terminal, then press enter. I'm not going to do this because I have already installed all the packages. So for the steps, we are actually going to prepare a dataset. That is, we need to download images of cat, dog, monkey, parrots, elephant, and bear. So you can go ahead and download your own different images or own different animals, but you just need to organize that very well. So to do that, we can either do it manually or automatically using the download all image extension. So using this link, once you open this link, it's going to take you to this web page, which you can actually use to install the Chrome extension. I already have that installed, and that's why it's showing remove from Chrome. But if you don't have that, it's going to show add to Chrome. So once you install the Chrome extension, you actually have to go now or open any web page that has images. For example, I've just written cat images and it's showing me this. So once you have this loaded, for you to be able to download the images automatically, you just come ahead and click this icon. This is the icon of the download all image. Once you click on this, it's going to create a zip file and download all the images for you, and you're going to find out in your download directory. So I've already gone ahead and downloaded all my own images, and let me just get that. Okay, these are my own images. I've gone ahead and downloaded images of bear, cat, dog, elephants, monkey, and parrot, and here are they. As you can see, I also have cats, as you can see. So my data set is ready. So I'm just going to go ahead now and dive in to the next step. So we have actually prepared a data set. After preparing the data set, we actually have to label the data set, and we are going to be doing that right away. So to do that, we are first of all going to create a file. Let's just create a folder that is going to contain all the logics of Tensorflow or a convolutional neural network. So here I'm going to create a file called load.py. In this file, we are going to actually write the logic that is going to load all the data from a dataset. But before proceeding, let's add the dataset into our working directory. Okay, as you can see, I have gone ahead and copied the data directory or my dataset into this folder, into the CNN folder. And there is something you may have noticed, that these folders are being grayed out. This is for those that are using GitHub. If you're using GitHub, you're going to notice that these folders have been grayed out because we have actually added them to a .git file, which means each time we push, these files are not going to be pushed to the repository, and we want to avoid that because a dataset contains a large amount of images, and we don't want to be pushing that all the time. So we have that, and we have a load.py that is ready. But let's take a look at the logic needed for that. So as it was mentioned, labeling the data is just like preparing the materials for studies. That is, we are preparing the materials that are going to be used by the computer to train on it. So basically, we first of all start off by creating two lists, the data and the labels, which are going to be used to store the images and the labels. So we actually go ahead and loop through all the files found in a data.cat directory, for example. And once we have looped through all the files found there, we now get each file we read the file, we convert it into an array, and after converting the file to an array, we actually resize that image into 50 to 50 pixel. And why do we do this? Oh, and we do this because we want to keep all our image to have the same sizes before training it, and this just makes everything consistent. So after we have resized the image, we actually add it to the data list, and then we give a label of 0. That means all the cards are going to be having a label of 0, or 0 represents card. So we are using the Python OS directory OS module that helps us to read the files found in a path. So let me just go ahead and write that here. So I've gone ahead and written the code needed to load our dataset, and what I'm going to do is now I'm going to explain it. So we're using the Python OS module that is going to help us to browse through the data directory and get all the files or images. We are using the C or Python OpenCV to read the image, and then we are using NumPy to manipulate the arrays that are being created. So these are the lists that will hold our data temporarily. And now we actually go ahead and load all the, or get the card directory. Once we've gotten the card directory, we loop through the card directory to get all the images that are found in the card directory. Now after we got them, we read that file found in that card directory, we convert it into a NumPy array, we resize, and then we add it to our data list. Then we add the label. Same thing, we go ahead and do that for dog, we go ahead and do that for monkey, do that for parrot, elephant. And once we are done, we actually convert those lists into NumPy arrays, and we save them, or we keep them as labels and animal. So after we have actually converted our dataset and labels into NumPy arrays, what we want to do is we want to save that for later use. We can actually go ahead and write all the code in a single Python file, but I'm just trying to keep everything separate. So here we have loaded the data into our NumPy arrays. Then after we have loaded it, what we have to do now is we are going to save that data, or we are going to save those files into a NumPy array. And to do that, we just need to run the load.py. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. First, make sure your virtual environment is activated, and now we just go ahead and run this. Okay, as you can see, the load.py has been executed successfully, and what you can now see is you can see animals.npy and labels.npy, which are the NumPy arrays containing a dataset and the labels. So after doing that, we are going to continue reading our steps here. Now the next step is to actually train the model. We are going to use the Tensorflow convolutional network example to create our own convolutional network. Feel free to read more and fine-tune the algorithm using this link. And what we are going to do is we are going to actually use 90% of our data set as the training set, and we are going to use 10% as the validation set. So once the training is being done, we want to evaluate the training by actually testing it if it's good or not. So we are going to use now this set to actually validate our training. So the two main code to note here is we are going to use this code, which is model.fit, which actually goes through the convolutional sorry, I'm missing that, which actually goes through the CNN, or convolutional neural network, and goes through the process of training. So we're using the 90% of the data, or our data set, to actually train it. Then 100 epochs actually specifies the number of cycles, or number of training cycles. So for this one, we are just going to use 100 training cycles. Then after we do that, we actually perform or get the accuracy, that is, we evaluate the model using the training set, and that's why we are passing X test and Y test here. So once we are done, we actually print the test accuracy, and then we save the model into a model.h file, and this is what we are going to use in Django to actually perform the predictions. So let's go ahead and actually create a train.py file. Alright, in this train.py file, what I'm doing is I'm importing NumPy, TensorFlow, and Matplotlib. Matplotlib is going to be used to display some stat as the training is going along. So in the first step, I actually load the NumPy arrays which we save from the load.py file. So in this case, I'm loading them and saving them in a variable called animals and labels. Now this part is actually splitting the dataset into 90% for training and 10% for validation. So once we have done that and then our dataset is ready, that is the training dataset and the test dataset, we actually go ahead and define a convolutional neural network. I don't know why I'm missing that convolutional. I can't really pronounce it. Convolutional. I don't know. Well, we actually go ahead and define a CNN as done on the TensorFlow example, convolutional neural network. Yes, I did it. All right. So once we define it based on the example that was provided there, you can go ahead and read more and actually fine tune the algorithm. After we have defined a convolutional neural network, we actually use model.fit to train a model. So once a model has been trained, or during the training process, we actually go ahead and use matplotlib to print some accuracy based on the training. That is, for each epoch or for each cycle, we just go ahead and print the accuracy for each of them. Once we are done training our dataset through the 100 cycles, what we do now is we actually test or evaluate that model and see what is the accuracy, how efficient is that model, or how efficient can that model be. And that's basically it. So once we have tested, we have trained a model, then we evaluate it. We are going to save now that model into a model.h5 file. This file just contains, or this file just acts like the brain which we are going to feed in into Django to actually perform the predictions. So I'm going to go ahead and run the train.py file. Alright, depending on your laptop specs, this process might take a while, and it also depends on the number of images you have in your dataset. So basically, I have about 400 images in my dataset, so this shouldn't take a while, or this shouldn't take long. Okay, yeah, so our model has gone through all the training cycle and we have the result. We have an accuracy of 0.764, and basically this is 76%, which is pretty cool for that little amount of data set. So I'm just going to get ahead and clear the terminal, and also what you have to note is a model.h5 file has been created that contains the brain or the result, the overall result of training the model through the convolutional neural network. I pronounced it right this time. So now what we are going to do is we are going to actually create a predict.py which we are going to try to load the model and to perform the predictions. So I've gone ahead and written the predict.py, and what you can notice here is we are still using the OS library, CSV2, image, and NumPy array. But what we have added here is we are also using the TensorFlow library. So basically, let us actually perform a prediction on one of the images found in the parrot folder. So as you can see, I'm using the get current working directory, then I'm passing in an image in the parrot directory. So after doing that, I'm actually converting that image into an array, resizing it to 50-50, a dimension of 50-50, because remember that's what we use before training a dataset. We just want to keep everything consistent. Then now what I do is I actually prepare an image, or I actually prepare the array to be fed into a model. So this is the image that is going to be used to actually predict, or what we are going to use to test the model. So after I convert, or I prepare the image for feeding into a model, what I have to do is I have to actually load that model. So I use TensorFlow keras, and then I load load the model from our current working directory. And as you can see, we have the model.h5 file. Once I have loaded now the model, once the model has been loaded, I use now the model.predict, and then I pass in that image, the test image here. So once that model, or once we run the predict on that model, the model is supposed to obtain or give us the result. So the result is going to be printed out with the prediction. So now I'm just going to go ahead and run that. So right now it's loading the model. This takes some time. All right, as you can see, I have a prediction tree. Now let's go ahead and check our classes. So 3 should be a parrot, if I'm not wrong. All right, yep, that's it. 3 is a parrot. So we are going to go ahead now and actually create a Django web app that is going to use this model. So now here we go. Actually, we are going to create now a Django app right now. Let me clear that. But you can also go ahead and actually test the predict.py on different images, maybe on an image in the cat directory or something else. But let's just go ahead and now set up a Django app which is going to use that model. So I'm going to use this command. So Django admin start project call is the command that is sufficient to actually create a Django project. But now once I add this dot at the end, it means it's going to create that project in my current working directory. So I'm going to press enter, and as you can see, I have a folder called core that has been created, and that folder is represent my Django project. So if you see, I have this core folder and I have this manage.py folder, which is actually the folder or the different folders needed for a Django app. This manage.py is just the entry to app, or what we are going to use to actually invoke some, or to run the server, or to run some other commands that have been passed to Django. So for example, if I copy this and paste it here, okay, now you can see I'll just check that to make sure my Django app is running. So I'm going to open port 8000 right now. Okay, as you can see, I'm having the default Django welcome page, which shows that my app, or my Django app, has been well set up. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this. So there's some few files that were created, or there's this file that was created, which is a db.sql, which is the default database for Django. Once you set up a project, Django set up a default database for you. So this is the database, and that's basically it. We have the manage.py and we have the core where we are going to configure our Django app. To have more, or to know more about Django, just make sure to check out my other videos on Django, or how to build a portfolio website with Django. So now what we are going to actually do is we are going to set up or configure our Django app to use the asset folder and the template folder, because in the asset folder we actually define some CSS, and we are defining some images that we are going to use on our web app, plus with a little bit of JS. So we are going to configure our Django website, or our Django project or web app, to use this asset and to use this template. So let me go ahead and put that here. So I've actually gone ahead and updated my settings.py file. You can reference the updated file or the final file on the GitHub repository using the main branch. So yeah, there is nothing crazy. I've imported OS, which we are going to use to actually reference some folders found here. And alright, as you can see, I'm using OS to actually define the directory where our template is going to be found. So basically the template is going to be this HTML file. So I'm using os.path.join the base directory. The base directory here is the directory that represents where the Django app is, and then now we're just passing the folder called template. That means Django is going to look for all our HTML file found, or Django is going to look for all our HTML file in this folder. Now I actually went ahead and actually set up the static directory. That is, this part is actually defining that I want to use, or my static files are going to be found in a folder called assets. This static URL defines the URL static files are going to have once we are saving that on the website or on from Django. And now this actually defines the media root, that is where our media files are going to be saved. When you are going to go ahead and have some or upload some image to the website, you're going to see that we are going to have a media file where the images are going to be saved into it, and this static root defines the root of the static file, and this is being used when you're actually trying to collect all the statics in Django, but we are not going to use that here, and that should be the only two settings we have added. Yeah, so that's basically, you configure your setting, your static files, and you also update your template directory. That is, you tell Django where to find your templates, and you can actually go ahead and change the name, but just make sure you have your template in the folder you have specified here. So now we are going to go ahead and create a views.py. Basically, the views.py represents a URL to our website where we are going to perform some logics and then render out some output, and that's where we're going to permit the user to actually upload an image, and then now once we get that image, we pass it to our model, then we actually go ahead and perform the predictions. Our model is going to go ahead and perform the predictions and returns the result, which we are going to send back out to the template, or to a template folder, or to the front end, which are going to send back out to the front end. Okay, I've actually gone ahead and written the views.py file, and basically what we are going to be doing here is we are going to be using the same logic from the CNN predict.py file and associate it with some Django files, so, or some Django commands, or some Django functions. So these are the most of the modules we actually use in the predict.py file, and then now we start importing some Django related stuffs like the settings, the template response, and the multi-tick key value error. So to start off, what we want to do is we actually upload the images to the Django server. Once we upload those images, now we actually load that image and pass it to our model. So we are going to be using the Django file storage system to actually upload the model. So first, what we do is we customize the Django file storage system, because we want that if we upload an image, let's say when a user uploads an image with a specific name, we want to make sure that if the file we are uploading to the server has a name that is already found in the media directory where all the files have been uploaded, that file should be deleted. So we are making sure that before a file is being saved, if we find a name in our directory that saves all the images or files and that has the same name, we actually delete it just to save on space on our website. So if someone uploads an image that is xyz.png and then now tries to re-upload the same image, we actually delete the previously saved image and then now we re-upload it. You can actually write a function maybe later on that maybe discard or delete the function or delete the image after the user has performed the logic break. I'm just trying to keep things very simple here. So we define a def.index. So basically this is called a Django view. This is what is going to have a logic for the template or a logic for this URL. So we're just going to have a single URL. So we define a def or a function called index. The input of that function takes in a request which adjusts the request or what is coming in to this view. That is, on our website, we are going to have some images that are coming in that the user is going to actually upload, and the images can be found in this request. So first we define message, which is just going to be an output return, prediction, which is going to be the output return, and then we define a custom file storage, which is what we just defined up there. So first of all, try if an image was uploaded, we get the image from the request.files, and that image is being passed in as image, and this name or this image is being defined here in at index.html. So come to our index.html in the upload form, you're going to see that we have, okay, this is it, this is the name, so this is it, image. So once you click on the upload button, what this file is being passed to Django, to that view. So this name image is being passed to Django, and what happens in our views.py file is we actually check if an image was passed in that file. So if we get an image, then now we proceed. We get now, maybe we'll print the name of the image, so image.file, just to make sure that the image was gotten. Then now use the custom file storage to actually save that image into a media directory, which we are going to see that working later on. We get the path of that image. Remember, a media directory is a directory where we define, for example, if I scroll down here, a media directory, here is it. So a media directory is going to be in this base directory, in this project directory, in a current working directory, then now in a folder called media. So what we are doing here is we have imported settings.py from Django, and once we get the settings.py, we actually use this as the path to the image. So we have this settings.py because we know that our image is going to be saved there. Once we have this path, then now we put slash the image.name, because that's where our image is going to be saved. Now we get the image of the URL by using the file or the custom file storage.url, which is going to return the URL of the image. We may need that. Then now we read now the image. Remember, this process is actually same or very similar, or this process is the same as the predict.py. So we read the image, we convert to an array, we resize, then we pass it into a model, then we perform the prediction. And then after we get the result from the prediction, now we test the prediction. So if the result of the prediction is equal to 0, then it's a cat. If it's 1, it's a dog. If it's 2, monkey, parrot, elephant, bear, else it's going to be unknown. So once we have done that, now we have the template response from Django, which is used to output the data to the index.html file. So this template response, we are actually passing the response, the request. Then after we say that, okay, this is going to be rendered on the index.html file, which is found here. Then now we are going to have some variables that we are going to access on this index.html file. So it's going to be the message. We are going to use the image URL to display the image on our website. Then now the image to display like the image name. We are going to display a message and the prediction. So on trying to get the image, the main error that can occur is the multi-value dig key error, which just simply means that we were not able to get a file that had this variable which is called image. So in case there's that error, you could put except error as E, but just to be precise, you can put multi-value dig key error, which is going to actually say we were trying to get the image with that value or that key of image, but now we do not find it, so we return an error. And in case we return an error, it means we are just going to return the request with to the index.html file and a message of no image selected, and that's basically it. So we are going to move on now to our index.html file and see what's happening here. So to start off, we are using load static from Django, which permits us to load the static folders found in our defined Django static folder. So this static is going to be used to load that. So as you can see, we are loading the style sheet using that static command. So we use this command, which is a Django, which is provided by Django templating language. So we use this, and then we say that okay, our static files, our CSS file is found in this static directory /assets. Remember, in our settings.py file, we actually define that directory. This is it, the assets folder. So in our static asset folder, Django is going to come and look for inside the folder called CSS and then main.css. So with this, we have actually loaded a CSS file. Now this is just a basic header, it's some HTML. So once we write this, then now this is the form that is submitting now that image. So we are putting this here for security reason. And if you read more on the Django documentation, each time you're passing or submitting data to your server, you need to actually pass this in to actually prevent CSRF attacks. Once you do that, you actually define the input, that is the input that is actually going to hold the image. So it just has a class, a type of file, and it accepts images. Then now this name is actually what we are referencing in our views.py file here. So as you can see, this image is what we are using here. So once that input contains an image, so once we submit the form and that input contains an image, then it's going to be found here, else it's going to be just returning this empty index.html file. So we have that. Then we actually have the button, the submit button, which is predict animal, and we have the message here, which is where the message is going to be displayed. Remember, this bracket, these curly brackets is what is being used by Django to actually display variables from the backend. That is, we have this message here, so we are using those curly brackets to represent or to have this message from the backend or from Django. So as you can see, we are basically doing some Django stuff here, which is here we are actually getting the image, we are trying to display the image. So we first of all do if. You can actually perform some if statement in the template using the Django templating language. So this is how we do it. You say if image URL. Remember, we are passing in the URL of that image, as you can see here, and that URL is gotten from our custom file storage. So our custom file storage returns the URL of that image. So if you come here, we are testing if we have an image URL, then we display we output that image URL in the source. Else you just use the default image in our static folder. So if you come to our static folder /images/default, we have an image here, which is this default image, and that's what is being outputted for now once there's not an image. Then if you come down here, we have still this variable we are referencing from the backend. We are displaying the name of the image, and remember, we are passing the image variable here. So we pass that to our index.html file, and then we also output the prediction. With that connected, we now have to load now the static or the JavaScript file from the static folder, and we do it basically as we did for the CSS file. So from static folder, which is the asset, we actually look for JS, which is this, and then we look for the main.js file. And with that, we are ready to actually run our app to make sure everything is working. So now I'm just going to go ahead, pull this up, and we should have the command from here. Oh, I already ran that. So if I press this, okay, my server is running now. Let's go ahead and check that. Okay, there is one thing we actually forgot to do. In Django, after configuring your views or actually creating your views, you have to actually create the URL that references that. So to do that, we are going to come to urls.py. So in url.py, this is what you basically have. We only have one route defined for now, which is the default admin panel of Django. So I'm just going to go ahead and update that. Now let me just clear this up. So as you can see, what I'm doing now is I'm just importing static from Django, settings from Django, admin. This one was already there. Same thing with the path was already there. So what I added is I'm actually importing the index function from the .view. So remember, in views.py we have a function called index, which is this, which is going to be the index, which represents the index.html file. So in my urls.py, I import that. Then I define now, I say that okay, each time I load my website, I actually just display or run that index function. So as you can see, each time you load that Django website, each time you load this page, what it's going to do is in the backend, it's going to actually go ahead and run this function. Once this function has finished running, it's going to actually output the index.html file. So that's what I'm defining here, and I'm just giving a name of index just to differentiate it from my other URLs I may have. So these settings are required when you're actually working or developing your Django project. So I'm actually just defining where the media files are found and how Django should form the URL. So as you can see, I'm seeing the media file are found in the media URL root, or in the settings.media root, and you form the URL using settings.media URLs. And same thing with static files, so settings.static URL and settings.static root, which were defined here. So once we have that set up, now if we run the server, we should have and here we go. This is our image prediction tool with Django. So we are going to go ahead and test that up right now. So I'm just going to click here, okay, and I'm just going to select this image. And here we go. So we have the name of the image that was outputted on our HTML file, and we have the prediction of that image. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the log. So as you see, the prediction was 3, and in our views.py file, we find that if the image was 3, we actually have the prediction as parrot. So now we have our image prediction tool that is working pretty well. So let's go ahead and test with another image. And here we go, we still have a correct result. So remember, this is actually just like a proof of concept of how to work with convolutional neural network and Django, or how to work with Tensorflow and Django. And with this, you can build upon this. You can build your own prediction tool, or you can build an awesome algorithm and then load it with Django. And there we go, we have our own image prediction tool that was built from scratch, and I actually went through the process of creating the convolutional neural network and how to connect it with Django to have it as a website. So if you want more content on Django, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to take a look at my other playlists if you're a beginner. So thank you and have a nice day.